You know what I thought prior to applying to speak before you today? My Nigerian parents would probably love to see me speak at graduation. Why not? Soon, I found myself punished by the reality of the heavy task I signed up for in the midst of finishing an already taxing and weird senior year. If a facepalm emoji was a real-life person, it was me throughout my speech writing process. But I guess there was something really wonderful about picturing my parents' beaming faces in the audience that gave me enough motivation to apply on a whim. I was prompted to answer the question of what I have learned so far, and instantly I was very, very overwhelmed. But at 4 a.m., when I was barely conscious, I woke up and it came to me. Of course, when the only time I would not be stressing, that's when it comes to me. But we're gonna have this speech and we'll see how it goes. Dickinson's interdisciplinary education helped me learn how to better understand complex problems that plague the world. It gave me the platform and the opportunity to be an active learner and engaged participant in the issues that I care deeply about. My sophomore year, I took a class called Sustainability, Social Justice, and Human Rights. It had all the issues I cared about in one course. In the class, I learned about all the ways that these issues are connected and how viewing them in isolation is a detriment to the ability to truly address them and find solutions. That same semester, I took another course titled After Genocide and Apartheid, Peace, Justice, and Reconciliation. In this class, I learned how the topics of sustainability, social justice, human rights, presented in my other course, were put into question with one of the most despicable things human beings could ever do to each other: commit a genocide. After the semester was over, I had the opportunity to travel to Rwanda to continue learning about the genocide against the Tutsi and Rwanda's recovery. There was an earth-shattering contrast between the country I learned about in history and the country that welcomed me in peace and unity. I remember sitting on the grass outside of the Nyamata Memorial, listening to Alice and Emmanuel tell their stories about the genocide. You see, Emmanuel had been a perpetrator of the genocide and was responsible for Alice's missing hand. Alice's family was killed at the memorial and was a survivor. Both Alice and Emmanuel came together to tell their individual stories and their collective story of forgiveness. My body still feels numb recalling this moment. I was angry, and I couldn't understand her forgiveness and Emmanuel's forgiveness of himself. Yet, they spoke about having their families meet and their conversations with them about their experiences during the genocide. I learned what true humanity was in that moment. After the memorial was over, we had to rush over to dinner to another survivor's home, Joanne Mukagashana, to hear her story. I was livid. I hadn't even processed the memorial, Alice and Emmanuel, and all the paradox present in just that experience alone. Now I had to go to dinner and somehow keep it together as if everything was okay. I wanted to scream, cry, throw up all at the same time. But if I hadn't gone, I wouldn't have heard the words she said after telling her story about overcoming death several times. She said, "Now that you have seen death, choose life." Those were the words that allowed me to sleep that night. Those were the words that allowed me not to fall into utter despair. They are the words that ring in my head every single moment I get overwhelmed or feel hopeless about how terrible this world can be. Even though you all weren't there, even though you weren't all there to witness the stories of Rwandans who generously shared themselves and their country, we have all seen death in various forms, whether that's physically, mentally, or spiritually in the past year. Yolande's words suggest that we have a choice. No matter how rough or disappointing life may be, we always have a choice to choose life. My interdisciplinary education at Dickinson holds so much more significance because of what I witnessed in Rwanda. It's more than the fact that Dickinson and the Interdisciplinary Genocide Studies Center in Rwanda gave me the opportunity to experience all that I did. but it was about seeing the issues that I cared so deeply about affect real people with real emotions and real stories. There's a responsibility that comes with that. It's not enough just to know the issues, but it's about what you do to address them. So, I leave you with this question that emerged from reflecting on Yolande's words a year after, in the midst of the first wave of the racial reckoning after the murder of George Floyd. Now that you have seen death, how are you going to be the light? Thank you.